hands of Hunter. And Virginia with the all-time turnaround title.
Good morning, Wahoo Nation. I'm Seattle Who, also known as Frederick Pauley, broadcasting live from the new Who's Place studio, still on Whidbey Island, but we've moved to another room where the acoustics aren't nearly as bad as they were in the other room. Sorry about that. I have my coffee in my championship mug. I hope you have your coffee in your championship mug, because we have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. First, a little programming note. Val could not be with us today. Somebody around him, I don't know, was COVID contact traced out of work, so he had to cover for his colleague, and he won't be able to be with us today. Hopefully he'll be able to be with us for the podcast. We have a very special guest that's going to be on the podcast, and we'll let you know more about that in the future. But now, today is the big day. Virginia Tech. It's the rivalry game, and as it has in recent years, it has a lot of meaning, not just for us fans, but also for the standings of the two teams. Both teams, come in ranked and doing very well. And so this is a huge game. It's at Castle Coliseum. Unfortunately, there won't be a lot of fans there, but there will be some. And, it's always a crazy game down there. It's always, both teams would be laying everything out on the line. So today, we're going to start out with our Who Spotlight, where we take a closer look at one of the Virginia players. And today, it's going to be Sam Hauser, but we're specifically going to look at Sam Hauser's defense, because his defense is going to be key today, as we will explain to you later. And then we'll take a little closer look at Virginia Tech specifically, and how the two teams, might be able to hurt each other today. And then I'll close off with another prognosis after I nailed it. I nailed it last time with the Syracuse game. Not on this show. We didn't do a Wahoo Wakeup for Syracuse, but we did cover a preview of the Syracuse game in depth in our podcast that broadcast on that morning. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to move on to Sam Hauser. All right, now his defense is going to be very important today, because Virginia Tech's two most dynamic players probably are Justin Mutz and Keve Aluma, and then they have another player, David Nagesson. I'm sorry, if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. He's a freshman. He's about 6'9", and he does a great job on the offensive board, so he's going to be a challenge too. This is not last year's Virginia Tech team. This is not even the year before's Virginia Tech team. We're kind of donut teams, and no, they have a very good inside game this year, and that's really why they've made that jump. So Hauser's defense is going to be very important in this game. To be honest, he started the season poor on defense. A slew of missed rotations. He was getting backdoor cut all the time. He was slow to recover to shooters. His on-ball defense, never the best. His post defense, never the best, but not really a problem. Then, Sam, he's a hard worker. He always worked hard. He came here in part because he wanted to improve on his defense, as most players do who come to Virginia. That's one of the reasons they come here, because they understand. They love both ends of the floor. The game is played on both ends of the floor. If you don't love defense, you only love half the game. You don't really love the game. You just, I don't know. That's a rant for another day. But Sam came here to learn defense. He has improved greatly over the course of the season. We'll see in a little bit some of the examples of how he's improved. But Sam was always a good defensive rebounder. Even at Marquette, he was like a 20% defensive boards guy. And this year he leads the team in box outs. It's one of the things that I score when I break down video. I take a look at who's getting the box outs and who's getting the rebounds, because a lot of times in our system, one of the bigs, first, our system very big on box outs. When the ball goes up, everybody's first responsibility is find a man and put a body on and box him out. We don't just turn and look at the ball. We we're supposed to find a man first, and that's all five players because the possession isn't over until you've secured that defensive board. So defensive rebound is a big part of defense, and box outs is a big part of that. And Sam, he leads the team in box outs. And what do I mean by that? I score a box out as where a player physically puts himself in the way of an opposing player, and that player theoretically could have gotten a rebound if it weren't for the contact. So Sam is preventing other the other team's player from getting the rebound more than any other player on our team. He also leads in total defensive rebounds over Jay Huff. Now Jay's got a higher defensive rebounding percentage, which means Jay rebounds at a higher rate for the minutes that he's in there. But Sam has the most defensive rebounds on the team. And his 23.3% defensive rebounding percentage is excellent. Anything over 20% is really good. We as a team, we've had numerous years where we were a good defensive rebounding team where we didn't have anybody over 20%. 23.5% was Akeel Mitchell's best, and that was like one of the best before this year. And now this year we have three guys that are doing around that well, and Sam is one of them. So he's always been this whole season. He's been a strong defensive rebounder, so he's got a foundation to build on there. He is at this point in the ACC season the leader in SPID, which is SPID. That's another statistic of mine. The Successful Possessions Index defense. What does that mean? Successful Possessions Index it's the number of possessions during the course of a game where the team was successful and the player made a play, any kind of play, could be a box score play, could be a non-box score play like a challenge a shot, rotated back to cover somebody. Those kinds of things are included. And so there's offense and defense, and Sam has he's got the highest successful possession index on the defensive side of the ball. Now, again, when you look at a rate, Jay's got the higher rate because Sam has played a lot more possessions, a lot more minutes than Jay has. But still, so Sam, he's doing it on the defensive end. He's being productive on the defensive end. And then if you take a look at a statistic that I don't like as much, but Synergy, we subscribe to Synergy Sports, and they do offensive and defensive statistics, and they look at efficiency rates, and on their pick and roll man coverage, Sam Hauser is credited with giving up only 0.571 points per possession. That's a little more than 1/2 a point per possession. So, roughly 75% of the time that Sam is picking up the roll man, that person is not scoring. And that's a very good ranking. He's in the 77th percentile amongst Division I players there, and it has some problems, but at least Synergy, they're assigning the defender to a play based on the defensive player who is closest to the offensive player on the video. So there is some effort there, unlike some of the other defensive statistics. So it's not, the best, but it's an indicator, and it's kind of an indicator of what I'm seeing on the video. And that's kind of a good segue into the video on Sam. And what we're going to do is let it roll, and I'll try to maybe narrate a little bit. All right, so here, covering the roll, you look how, here, let's go ahead and play that back again so you can see it again. Covering the roll. Now, Justin McCoy's got the roll man, Jawan Durham's going to set the screen and then go to the hoop and watch Sam, who's here in the middle, and see what he does. All right, steps in front, makes him miss the shot. He's also doing well as a help defender. What does that mean? That means he doesn't have primary responsibility for the player, but he comes over and he helps out. So let's watch. He's over there in all that traffic. Let's let it roll. Nope. All right, he's ready to help. Back to his man, and he steps in, cuts off the drive. And here's another one. Now this is important. Sam's move here may not have been the best in a lot of situations because he's left a 3-point shooter wide open on the arc. But what makes this play significant is that Moses Wright has clearly, at this point, committed to his move, and therefore Wright can't see the open man. So that makes it a little bit safer for Sam to leave him. All right. All right. He's also rotating over. What do we mean by that? All right. That means when, for example, when Jayhoff has to turn his man loose to cut off a drive to try to challenge a shot, then it's up to the next man to rotate over onto Jay's man to make sure that they can't just dump it off to him. So you can see Jay, there's a drive coming on. You can see Jay's getting ready to cut it off, and Sam is the next man over. So let's watch this one in the next play. Boom. Sam steps in, cuts off the pass. And here's another one. Jay comes over to block the shot. Sam steps in, and he tips the ball away. This is something that earlier in the season, Sam wasn't doing very well. He was missing that, and teams were killing us off of those kinds of passes. Right. And then finally, he's been much better at recovering to shooters here. So let's watch. He steps in the lane, says pack line, he doubles the post. All right, the pass goes out. Sam gets back to his man. And then you're gonna love this one. Yeah, let's run this back. Now what? Sam's in the middle of the lane here because he was protecting against the pick and roll. Boom, blocks the shot. All right, so he's also improved his man defense. We're going to see a couple of examples of him doing a good job. And this is the kind of thing that's going to be challenged today by Virginia Tech. So pay close attention to this because, this is going to really come into play today. He switches onto the ball handler. There you go. And this is a great play by Sam. Strips the ball away. All right. And the second one was significant because that player for Georgia Tech, Khalid Moore, is pretty similar physically and style to one of the players or two of the players that Sam is likely to have to cover today, Justin Mutz. He's a 6'7", 230-pound senior forward. And then I'm sorry, I didn't really have a chance to learn his name. He's the freshman that comes off the bench. He's another slender, kind of mobile guy who plays at the big. So, Sam knows that the defense is important. He's really prioritized.
Yeah, I think just from the daily practice habits each and every day that the coaches harp on and the drills that we do, if you work hard at it, you're going to get better because that's what this program is built on. And if you want to play a lot of minutes, you're going to have to be able to guard. So I've tried to take some pride on that end, and I hope it's showing because I think I've gotten better.
All right, now Sam's going to be challenged defensively by Kevi Aluma and Justin Mutz. I think these first few clips are going to be Aluma, who's most likely going to be taken by Jayhoff, but Virginia Tech is the kind of team, maybe Huff won't play as much because they tend to play smaller and outside in, but you can see, they're posting up here, so that gives Jay a role. So Jay will probably have Aluma, and then Sam's probably going to spend more time on Mutz, who's about to take over in the video here. Yeah, this is Mutz. Very challenging cover for Sam. And so his man-to-man defense is going to be very important in this game. All right. Now, obviously, Sam's three-point shooting is going to be important, and not just his defense, but his offense. Because Virginia Tech, they come in as the number 20 team in the AP poll. Probably a little overranked because of the Villanova win. They're number 40 in the Ken Palm efficiency ratings. They come in with the number 57 offense and the number 34 defense. Now remember that in the ACC, they're 6-2, and they're in third place. They've lost to Syracuse, and they have lost to Louisville. That's right, they lost to Louisville. Now in the ACC, they have the number 9 offense and the number 2 defense. So look, we're used to Virginia Tech being a team that's going to try to outscore you with their 3-point shooting and their driving kick and their drive and bleat get to the free throw line. This year's team is different. For one thing, they're not a donut team. They've got inside play. And number 2, they're actually a defense-first team. It's their defense that's winning their games, and it's their defense that they're going to rely on most today to try to win this game. And now Virginia, of course, number 8 in the AP poll, number 7 in the current Ken Palm rankings. Virginia comes in with the number 10 offense and the number 16 defense. Yes, we are higher ranked in offense than we are in defense. This doesn't happen very often. I think maybe in 2018-19, our offense is more highly ranked than our defense was in Ken Palm. Excuse me. And of course, the Hoos are 7-0 in the ACC in first place. And per the Ken Palm efficiency rankings, we have the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the ACC. Excuse me. All right, so this is a matchup between 2 of the best teams in the conference, between 2 of what I would say are the only 4, maybe 5 good teams in the conference. And by good teams, I'm talking Virginia and Florida State, who are clearly a cut above the rest. And then you've got Virginia Tech, maybe Louisville, and then North Carolina. Watch out for North Carolina. I've watched a couple of their games lately. They've gotten a lot better, and they're going to be a team to reckon with going down the stretch in the ACC. It would have been better for us if we could have gotten them early, but we get them late, a little bit later, I think in February, and that's going to be, a really, really tough game. All right, so let's take a look at Virginia Tech. What is their scheme? How do they want to play? Start on the defensive end. It's a little bit clearer. They're a man-to-man team. They've played, according to Synergy, they've played 1 possession of zone this season. They don't double the post. Aluma is a 6'9", 235-pound junior, so he's a big guy. They'll leave him there on an island against the post man. They don't want to double the post. They want to stay with the shooters. And on screens, when they play ball screens and even off-ball screens, I wasn't able to really see a pattern on whether they're going to switch or not switch. They seem to just kind of do it on the fly. They will switch. Other times, they'll go over the screen, stay with their man. I seem to be a little bit nonchalant about it, which is odd for a defense that that's that good statistically. They do contest shooters. They're number 6 in the ACC on both 2-point and 3-point field goal percentage. So they're not giving up easy shots on either outside the arc or inside the arc. They also force a lot of dead ball turnovers, but they don't get a lot of steals. Like they're number 6 in the ACC in turnover percentage, but only number 11 in steal percentage. So they're forcing shot clock violations, they're forcing travels, things like that. They will contest the paint. They don't double the post, but they'll contest the paint. They're number 5 in the ACC in blocks percentage. And they're also, they score highly in the whole country on the percentage of shots at the rim that are blocked at 13.7%. So they block a lot of shots, and that's mostly Aluma and Mutz. Aluma and Mutz. They're also number 4 in offensive rebound percentage given up, which means they don't give up a lot of offensive rebounds. They're like us in that they prioritize closing out the possession, so they box out pretty well. However, they do foul a lot, and that's because they're contesting the paint so heavily. They're number 12 in the ACC in free throw rate. Probably not something that's going to hurt them today because Virginia is like the worst team in the conference at getting to the free throw line. We don't go to the free throw line. Everybody knows it. The refs know it. Everybody knows it, so we don't go to the free throw But as much as they contest the paint, their post defense statistically is poor, in the bottom 10% amongst Division One teams. So they are vulnerable in the post, partly because they're not going to double. They're going to let Aluma defend it. They'd rather give up a 2-point shot than a 3-point shot. So they're giving up .978 points per possession, just a hair under 1. And when an offense that gets 1 point per possession is doing pretty well. So post defense isn't their strength. Let's remember that later. They are, however, strong on dribble penetration. They're very good at defending the pick and roll ball handler, and they're also very strong on defending isolation, which basically means it's because their guards are quick. They're good at staying in front of their man, and they're only giving up a little over 0.6 points per possession on both of those. They rank very good in the nation according to Synergy in the 77 to 81% rank in both of those. However, they do struggle on the pick and roll when the pass is made. They're giving up a point per possession to the pick and roll man. Those of you who follow my Twitter might have seen last night I tweeted out that Jay Huff is scoring 1.917 points per possession on pick and roll man plays. That means he's scoring almost every single time he gets the ball coming off the pick and roll. It's an incredible number, and he's in the top 1%. He scores at 100% on Synergy, so he's at the very top of college basketball as a pick and roll man. They also, so their 1 point per possession on that is about 40% in the nation, and then on spot up shooters they're giving up 0.9 points per possession, which is like in the 43% range amongst Division One teams. We're going to see some video here in a second that they tend to overhelp on a drive, and they can be pretty poor at rotations and recoveries on a pick and roll. The Notre Dame game that I scouted, there were several times where the screen was made and just nobody off the ball was on the ball, and so the rotations didn't come over, and that's something that that needs to be watched by them. But overall, despite their struggles, they are the number 2 defense in ACC play by KenPom efficiency ratings, and that's their best chance to beat us is with their defense. On offense, they run a motion offense, either 4 out or 5 out. They do post Aluma and Mutz in both the low post and the mid post and let them go to work, and they're both pretty good at it. Otherwise, they're trying to get Hunter Couture, 6'3" sophomore guard, or Jalen Cone, a 5'10" sophomore guard, or Naheem Alain coming off of screens. So less than 20% of their plays are pick and roll. They do very little isolation. They're trying to create a lot of traffic around the perimeter and get people popping free, or get Aluma or Mutz isolated in the post where they can go to work. Now, Tech's an interesting team is they don't really have a lot of all-purpose offensive players. Other than Elaine, their players are either going to hurt you inside the paint or at the three-point line. They're not really, a challenge either way. Aluma takes 42% of his shots at the rim, and he's hitting 58% of them. Only 20% of his shots are threes, and he's hitting 32% of those. Cone and Couture are shooting almost exclusively three-point shots. Elaine, he works the mid-range and the three-point line. He's only taking about 12% of his shots at the rim, and he's not a high percentage there. But he is a 42% three-point shooter. So Elaine and Couture are your main threats at the three-point line. And then Mutz is the exception here in that 45% of his shots are at the rim and 33% are from the three-point range. But he's only 31% three-point shooter, so you definitely want to play him for the drive. So Tech has not been winning games with their offense. They're number 9 in the ACC on offense, which is lower middle. That's not going to get you in the NCAA tournament unless you have a very good defense, which they do. All right, so that's their scheme. Now, who are the players to watch for Virginia Tech? First, obviously, is Keve Aluma. As I said, he's a 6'9", 235-pound. It says here a senior. I think he's a junior. Let's see. I think I made a mistake there, but let me look. No, he's a junior. He's a junior. Mutz is also a junior. But anyway, so Aluma, you can see he's scoring 13.9 points per game. That leads the team. Good efficiency rating at Ken Palm, 105. It's good. 24.7% shots used, so he's a very frequent shooter. And then you can see his shooting percentages at the rim and on three-point shots. And in the synergy rankings, he's 64%. And then his rebounding percentages and his block percentage are all strong. So Aluma's a good all-around big man, something that they haven't really had in the past few years. He's made a big difference. He's a transfer from Wofford. He came over with Mike Young. Then there's Justin Mutz, who's a 6'7", 230-pound junior forward. He's only scoring 7.8 points per game. His 96% offensive efficiency isn't great, but he's really good at the rim. He's really good on drives, as you're going to see, or as you probably saw in the video that I showed on Sam's defense. So he's not tremendously efficient, but he is he's a strong defensive rebounder and shot blocker. So he's definitely a player to be watched. And then the last player I want you to focus on is not Jalen Cone or Wabisa Beatty, but Hunter Couture, the 6'3" sophomore guard, who he actually plays more minutes than Cone does, and he picked up a lot of the slack for the loss of Tyrese Radford the other night against Notre Dame. Came in and played 24 minutes, shot the ball very well. You can see 69.4 of his shots are from the three-point line. He's got a very high offensive efficiency. 123.3 is great. He's making 47% of his three-point shots. Most of those he's coming off screens. He's moving without the ball. And you can see he's very efficient. So let's take a look at these guys on video. I want to start with Couture because his video is really, really impressive. And let's get rid of that overlay there. There we go. Yeah, let's start the video again. That stupid overlay was in the way. Again, you got to get out on him. Don't give him space. He moves well without the ball. Sets a little screen, comes off a screen, boom. Gives it up, relocates, gets it back. So Hunter Couture is a player that you just can't lose. I mean, he looks a lot like a Kyle Guy or a Joe Harris in our system. Now let's take a look at, here's Keve Aluma. Look familiar? They do a lot of stuff that looks like the Hunter, the mover blocker. He's got good moves, good touch in there. He's decisive. He's going to be a huge challenge for probably Jay Huff. And then Justin Mutz. Now, the thing that characterizes Aluma and Mutz for me when they get the ball is that they're tenacious and they're not intimidated. And, they have a good touch in there. And so they're just going to be, to me, those two guys are the main threats for Virginia Tech. Can put the ball on the floor. All right. So those are the players to watch. How are they going to hurt us? The main way Virginia Tech is going to hurt us is with their defense. They're going to pack line us. They're going to frustrate our shooters. They're going to challenge drivers at the rim. They're going to try to create a lot of dead ball turnovers and make us shoot a low percentage and get frustrated. Ugly up the game. That's, like I said, pass line or pack line. They're going to pack line us. And then they can, as you saw there, they can hurt us with Luma and Mutts in the paint. They post up, they drive from the mid post, they score on cuts and dishes. And then Aluma is about a 10% offensive rebounder, so you have to watch out for him on the offensive boards. It's going to be up to probably Jay Huff most of the time to take Aluma, Sam Hauser, maybe Trey Murphy to take Mutts. I actually kind of like the Murphy matchup on Mutts, so let's see if we see some of that. I don't know what we're going to do with Sam defensively, because I sure as hell don't want him chasing Hunter Couture around the floor. But, you know, he might get to do that, or maybe we put him on a lane. That might be a good matchup. Maybe Hauser on a lane and then Murphy on Mutts. So let's see. We might see some of that. And then they can hurt us with Couture from the three-point line if we lose track of him. We cannot lose contact with Couture. All right, so how are we going to hurt them? We're going to hurt them with Huff and Hauser in the post. As I said, their post defense isn't great. Sam Hauser is perhaps the most efficient post scorer that Tony Bennett has ever had, at least at Virginia. I posted again on Twitter. I could not find a UVA post player that includes Anthony Gill and Mike Scott who had an efficiency on post-up plays as high as Hauser has so far this year. So if we can get Hauser posting up Mutts or the freshman or even a wing player, that's something to watch. And also, this is one where we might see more of Jay Huff in the post and maybe not so much doing his thing out on the perimeter, because Aluma is the kind of defender who can press out on Huff and prevent him from getting those open three-point shots, prevent him from driving, and kind of disrupt things there. So we could see Jay take him down into the low post where he's probably not going to get help, and one-on-one, defending post, he's actually struggled a lot. We can see, here they put Aluma on an island, with no help, and he's successful in that one, but we could see something totally different. All right. The other way we can really hurt them is with the pick and roll. Their pick and roll defense is apparently hampered by freelance on the switching, and their rotations have been poor. So really, just Prentice Hub comes free to the basket. Here, they don't know who's doing what, and they get the easy lob. All right, so there's no help against the driver there. Look, if they defend the pick and roll like that against us, Jay Huff might get 2 points per possession on a pick and roll man. So you can hurt them at the rim. We can hurt them at the rim. They're in the middle of the pack on opponent's field goal percentage at the rim. And when they're not blocking a shot, they're really giving up a high percentage. So if we can get to the rim, we can really hurt them. They get hurt by the roll man. They get hurt on cuts. They're poor defending cuts, and they struggle with spot up shooters. So if you can run that pick and roll, the ball handler should have plenty of options that he can choose from, because they're not their defense, as good as it is, it's kind of predicated on making the ball handler keep the ball and then contesting his shots. So there's something to exploit there. All right. So what's the prognosis? I like the prognosis. I think we're going to have to I think Aluma, it's interesting. Aluma plugs their hole in the center that Tech has had. However, in this case, that might actually be to the benefit of Jay Huff, because we've had to sit Huff. The last couple years when we've played Virginia Tech, Jay Huff hasn't played a lot of minutes because there hasn't been anybody that he could guard. They were running that 5 out, setting all kind of screens out on the perimeter. They were playing centers who were 6'5" guys who could shoot the 3. And it just wasn't a good matchup for Jay Huff, and consequently he had to sit out a lot, and we were going small. They're a different team this year with Aluma and Mutz. In particular, Aluma, they're more traditional on the offensive end. They're counting on Aluma to be their leading scorer, and Aluma is a player that Jay can match up with. Look, we watched him play against Amir Sims, and he did a very good job against Amir Sims. He did a very good job against Mark Dolajai of Syracuse. Aluma is the kind of player that Jay can match up very well with on defense. Because again, they're not running a ton of pick and roll, and Aluma's operating mostly in the mid and the low post area where Jay can defend. And so I like that the way Tech plays now and the lineup that they play allows for us to have Jay Huff on the floor, because despite the NCAA, who today or last night released their Kareem Award watch list for the best center in the NCAA, they have 10 guys on their watch list, and Jay Huff isn't one of them. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's one of the leaders. He's behind only Luka Garza in Ken Palm's Player of the Year rankings, which are based on actual statistical analysis. And that doesn't even take into account Jay's defense, where he's one of the best shot blockers in the country and is having a fantastic year on defense. His post defense this year is as good as Hauser's post offense is, and much better than it's been in the past. So anyway, we get to have Huff in the game. Hauser's going to have matchups that he can exploit in the post. Look for the ball to go into the post a lot. Look for a lot of pick and roll, and I think we can really hurt them at these things. And I'm not as worried about their offense because Huff can control the middle, and then our perimeter defenders are so good. I don't think you're going to see Jalen Cone coming free. I don't think you're going to see Hunter Couture coming free. Between Beekman and Murphy and Morcell, we've got the guys that stay with the shooters, and Kihei has pretty much dominated the matchup with Obisa Bidi so far, and that should continue today. I feel good about this one. I don't think we're going to see a 23-point win, but I think maybe we're going to see we'll probably see a 2 or 3 possession win. That said, crazy things happen down there in the Castle Coliseum. Crazy things happen in this rivalry. And so I'm going to say goodbye right now. I'm going to leave you with a 58-51 prediction. UVA comes out on top. And if you want to enjoy, here is the Who's Place highlight video from last year's game down at Castle Coliseum. So, Wahoo, everybody. Enjoy the game. And catch you next time.
ESPN tonight in Blacksburg, Virginia, inside Castle Coliseum, the Commonwealth Flash, Part 2. The Virginia Cavaliers at 19-7, and the Virginia Tech Hokies a record of 15-12. So Virginia can earn that coveted double bye for the ACC tournament. A win tonight. Syracuse, if they fall at Pittsburgh, that's tipping off right now at the Pete. Virginia Tech in this series has lost the last 3 against Virginia. A little bit of a slide right now for the Hokies, who have lost 7 of their last 8, with their only win halftime deficit since they joined the ACC. Not a gas tank full kind of game for the Hokies, as Braxton Key puts Virginia up 2. Going with rolled to 10 side, guarded by Couture, and as he cuts to the basket, he finds Clark, who loads up for 3 in the corner.
The defense just got chasing the play a little bit too much there. Good ball movement look. Just a little breakdown. Few players go with the basketball. Baseline jive, baseline drift.
Radford with 3 defenders around him. Grabs the loose ball, sticks it up and in. Tyrese Radford, the redshirt freshman.
They bounce you out top. Beatty able to just turn the corner and get a shot up.
Statman lights it up from 3.
That's too easy. Just get sucked in on that ball screen. Yeah.
Thus far, leading to the largest lead of the night for the Cavaliers. Nolly for 3. And if he gets going, look out. Shooting just 18.
And he's a guy who's at his best when he takes what comes his way.
Clark off the screen. Nobody got back for Diakite, and he makes the Hokies pay with a 3. Timeout, Virginia Tech.
So much of a concern on that screen.
The conversation of a bubble team versus now where they are safely into the field, according to Joe Lenardi.
A lot of those are swing, not really drive and kick threes.
How about that finish at the basket from Ochiako? Ice cold.
I don't even know where to go with it.
It's outcast. Morcell gets the reverse lay-in. You did North Carolina, BC, and Pitt. Not the top half of the league right there. We'll see Duke, though, on Saturday on ESPN.
See, defense not there on the roll. Great read by Mamadi Diakite.
Scoring the Hokies by himself.
I mean, here he is. He's got eyes. Defense is not coming over. They're late on the help, so it's a roll.
But you know, we've worked 3 games together this year, and that's the second time you said that to me. There's a 3 for Virginia Tech.
They figured out who they really are. They figured out to find ways to win.
And World of Tensai became a big-time scorer as he hits the 3. His first
quick shots are great offensive rebounding opportunities. Defense is scrambling. That's just too easy. That's that pick and roll situation. I'll tell you, I would go to it every single time down floor.
Appeared to be PH3. That's low acidity, right?
Oh, gosh.
Well, it ends up with number 3, Wabisa. Radford backs in. Horn lets it fly. And hits from 3. 67 against ECU, and the fewest in this series since 1946. Jay Huff is in and scoring right away off the bench. Huff has, since Virginia Tech joined the ACC. There's 3 from Couture.
Make it easy for the defense.
Cohn just got his first points. Woo! He could score in a flurry.
Let go. Got to attack.
Horn. Yes! Jay Huff, not a great free throw shooter either. Sitting on the bench right now for UVA. Cohn. Another 3. All of us have lost 7 of 8. Virginia has won 4 straight and 7 of 8. Couture for 3. He's got it, and the Hokies have the lead for the first time tonight. Rejected by Nolly, but Diakite keeps the effort consistent and gets everywhere a Cavalier went on that possession. 2 or more Hokies greeted them. And it's an easy call for Lee Cassell for the offensive foul on Nolly. The arm extended, his 3rd personal.
That's the second same exact offensive foul that he picked up, and that's just an easy call.
Baseline screen. He gets another from Diakite. Cohn right on his hip.
Wow.
And Kihei Clark pulls Virginia within 1. 2.5 to play in Blacksburg.
It's like when you have a bad possession that was an offensive charge, you got to have a good one to follow.
Statman, the drive, the kick to the corner, and a 3 for Morcell to put Virginia up. 53-51.
Go back to it. You've got to have feel in the game. If you don't feel that out, multiple bad possessions can completely turn this thing back around into
Virginia Tech.
Well, and this was a great answer from a couple of good defensive possessions, but really some bad decisions offensively for Virginia Tech. Not a guy who makes a lot.
3-point shooters abound for the Hokies on this possession. A drive for Radford ties the game.
Just a great Radford turn in the corner, getting into the paint with shooters around the wing.
Kihei Clark swoops back a 3. Is good with 2.1. Wow, Kihei Clark at the game's biggest moment nails the triple here on the road.
How about the awareness of Kihei Clark? Just understanding time on the clock, and it's good to get a shot up with a second or two left. You give your offense an opportunity to get a second chance point. It's a kid, he hasn't done a lot offensively. He hit a big left-handed runner here a minute and a half ago. But again, the awareness, you got to get that shot up. You kind of got the defender leaning, just enough room to get the shot off. And again, enough time to get a second chance opportunity. A lot of times you see guys settle for a shot. At the very end of the shot clock, it's just a bailout bad shot. There's no offensive rebounding opportunity. Kihei Clark's been asked to do a lot more this season, man. And it's not just score, it's facilitate, it's create opportunities for teammates. He's grown a lot over his time. I mean, even as a young freshman, a lot was asked of him. Defensively, he's gotten better. He's got